Hi all, thanks for tuning in. Today I'll be talking about the power of process automation, how can you leverage Keboola Connection for doing it, and in the end I'll share a short case study with you about how a Keboola customer automated their processes with us. The data analytics, data science and machine learning has been in the center of focus for many years now. Almost every company has its own analytics team these days, and those that don't usually outsource someone from the outside. Everybody understands that using the data is necessary for success. However, the boosted demand for data people is not met with the supply of data people. Even though more and more people choose to work with data, it is still not enough. On this slide, you can see the difference in number of data science jobs and data scientists. In 2015, in New York, the difference was around 4K. 3 years later, in 2018, the difference was around 30K. Data science became very fashionable and very expensive. With the excessive demand, the salaries of data scientists and data analysts rose. I put on this slide what was the average data science salary in each US state. Even if we said that people tend to report slightly higher numbers when asked about salaries, it is apparent that keeping a data scientist became a very expensive thing to do. In New York and California, the states with the widest data science skill gap, the salaries got to $140K a year, which is excessive. If you pay such a salary to someone, you want to make sure they are using their potential to the fullest. You want them to bring insight and generate value for your business. You want to have them thinking hard and inventing stuff. You don't want them to do repetitive tasks and maintenance of the existing systems. And that's where process automation steps in. Even the best employees do mistakes, no matter how much you pay them. And it is okay. You don't pay your data science geek for being 100% accurate and efficient. You pay them because at certain tasks they are far superior to the computer. It would be a shame then have people doing stuff that computer can do better. It makes no sense to have someone creating the same reports every day. One, they will make a mistake. Sooner or later, they will fail and it will be costly. Second, if there will be a machine for this repetitive task, the person who did it in the first place can study the data and think about better ways how to visualize them or gain insight. They can become an expert on data visualization and provide your sales team with amazing charts that will shoot your sales to the sky. At this point, I would like to show you how Keboola can help with process automation. In KBC, you can easily automate extract, transform, load processes, set up data pumps, generate reports for your business intelligence department, or send personalized offers to your customers via emails. Using machine learning, you can train your model for churn prediction every day with the most recent data. And the best part is that once you set it up, you don't have to touch it ever again. At this point in the series, you'll probably know a lot about KBC, but let me go over it once again. KBC, which stands for Keboola Connection, consists of 3 basic blocks that reflect that it is all about ETL. Extractors for connecting data sources, transformations for transforming the data, and writers for writing the data somewhere else. You can also use pre-made data science apps we have, such as an app for NLP, churn modeling, or customer lifetime value modeling. So for example, if you had your raw data on Microsoft SQL Server, you would take an extractor for Microsoft SQL, get the data to KBC, set up transformations that aggregate your data and add info about weather, and then load to Good Data or Looker to visualize the insights. Once you set up your processes from these blocks, and it is seriously like building a Lego tower, you can automate it in the orchestration section of KBC. The orchestration section consists of 3 main parts. The first one and the most important one is the task section. Here you build the metaphorical Lego tower. You define how the whole process is gonna go, what would be the succession. The second one is schedule. It is it's not surprising that in this section you define when the process is going to take place. Last but not least, the notification section allows you to specify what happens when something goes south. The jobs in KBC can end up with 3 statuses: success, warning, or error. Warning is usually used for situations when the job passed, but something unusual or shady happened during execution. The arrow then indicates that something went seriously wrong and the whole thing failed. In notification section, you can set up notifications for errors and warnings, and also for increased processing time. The last option is very useful because it would indicate that your data source inflated or that something is happening. The notifications are usually sent to your email, but you can set it up so they are sent to your Slack channel or wherever else. The whole orchestration is split into phases. The phases are logical blocks that increase the readability and further maintenance of the process. Also, correct using of phases dramatically speeds up the whole process. Tasks in one phase are executed in parallel, whereas phases themselves are executed sequentially. For example, if your process starts with the extraction of the data from 3 locations and the extraction from each location takes half an hour, the parallel execution saves almost an hour. It is usually a good practice to have all the extractors in one phase and all the writers in some other phase. The best number of phases for the transformations is determined by the complexity of the process in between extractors and the writers. Each task has 2 checkboxes on the right-hand side. The first determines whether you want it to be executed in the orchestration, which could be very handy when you are deploying some new process. You just disable the old component, put the new one right next to it, and should anything go wrong, by single click you can revert to the old version of the process. The second option is continue on failure. This one is a bit tricky and needs to be dealt with caution, but again, it can help a lot in some special cases. For example, when your process branches out and not all branches are necessary for the main part to pass, you can choose continue on failure in the parts that are not necessarily needed for the main part to pass. After clicking on the 3 dots on the very right, you can specify the task parameters. If you recall something about transformation buckets, you may remember that these have phases too. Here you can specify which phases should be executed, for example. On the top left, under the Actions button, you can group tasks to one phase by type, merge phases or move tasks. I already talked about the notifications, however, I would like to talk more about the integration with Slack here. In Slack, you can add to your channel an integration with email. This will generate you an email address from where everything is forwarded to your Slack channel. You can simply copy-paste this email address to the notification section in KBC, and every warning, error, or increased processing time message will be redirected to your Slack. This is very handy because you can easily start a thread beneath every such message and work on solving it with your team. The schedule functionality lets you choose the execution time for each orchestration. You can choose it to be executed every hour, every day, every week, every month, or even every year. Once you choose your orchestration to be executed, for example, every hour, you can specify on which minute of every hour it should be executed. You can, of course, choose the orchestration to be executed more than once per hour. The highest frequency you can choose is every minute. Nevertheless, as mentioned earlier, it is necessary to be cautious with the execution schedule and set it up bearing in mind that the execution time of the orchestration should not be longer than the gap in between 2 execution schedules. It makes no sense to set the orchestration to be run every 2 minutes if you know that the execution time is 5 minutes, because KBC will wait for the first instance to finish, and only after that it will execute the new one. As with every other part of KBC, you can access the complete history of an orchestration. This means that you can see the execution log for every run of every orchestration, and you can see complete update history for every orchestration. This is incredibly useful for debugging your processes because you can very easily identify who made the changes that brought instability to your process. The changelog allows you to compare every version to the previous one. So for example, here you can see that my colleague Choi Tao, who you know from previous parts of the series, set a task to active. This task was deactivated in the previous setting that was configured by me. For simplicity, KBC can show you change parts only, which is very handy, especially for more complicated orchestrations. As you know, Kebula Connection is basically a set of APIs. No wonder that orchestrations have their own APIs, via which you can control the whole orchestration lifecycle, from creating it to setting up tasks, schedule and notifications, modifying it, and maintaining. There is a comprehensive manual for doing so, link to which you will find in the description of the video. Just a small example. Let's say you want to alter the notifications for an orchestration. Everything you need to do is just send a put request to the Kebula API with the proper body. The body of the request is specified in the link I put under the video. Examples for how to send this request is specified for most of the major programming languages, such as PHP, Python, Java, JavaScript, and many more. At this point, I would like to present a case study about the process automation. This is a story about how Forth, a company who helps hospitality businesses to increase their efficiency and grow profits, used KBC for simulating risk and automatically generate reports. The struggles of Forth were mostly centered about the capacity planning for their employees and measurement and comparison of the performance in between teams. What they wanted to do was streamlining the process, simulating risks, and visualizing the information from their CRM and project management systems. For doing so, two data sources had to be integrated, Salesforce and RallyDev. After we got the data, we set up a Monte Carlo simulation to analyze risk, and from there, we were making predictions of the outcome of different decision options. In the end, we set up a writer-to-good data visualization software where the Forth managers could access the outcome of our analysis. The project was set up to be executed twice a day, in the morning and in the evening. In the end of this project, the managers were able to see comprehensive reports of the team capacity and team productivity refreshed twice a day. And the most fascinating part for them was that no one had to be spending their precious time on this. The reports simply generated themselves. Thank you all for listening. I hope I managed to convince you that process automation is the thing you want to focus on in 2019, and if you had any questions, don't hesitate to shoot me an email or call me. All the best in spring 2019!